So let's talk about where to shoot. Uh, yeah, this image I took from NASA, which shows the light pollution that we are living in these days. So the basic idea is you have to get away from the light pollutions from the city lights. And as you can see in India, you don't see in a lot of places where there is no light pollution. But still, you can. I'm pretty sure you can find places in between cities with small villages. We can still see some dark spots over here and in the northern side of India, in Ladakh, in Himachal Pradesh, in Rajasthan, or even if you go towards the coastline in south, you can definitely uh, get clear and dark skies looking towards the ocean. So that can be a good place to start the Milky Way photography. Just get away from city lights. If you're shooting in city lights, you don't see more stars. You just see light, light, and light. So this image, the one that I'm showing right now, it's a perfect example of what light pollution does to the stars. So you can see near the mountain, you can see all the city lights. The core of the Milky Way is completely gone. It is just absorbed by the light. You cannot see any stars near the horizon. All the stars are visible up in the sky, and they are just dimming over there. So yeah, that's what is happening with growing population, with cities and all the night sky that our ancestors used to see. It's just going away completely, vanishing. But if you plan a trip, if you go to a dark night sky place, you can see stars everywhere. In this image that I'm showing, you can see stars just near the horizon as well. There is no light pollution whatsoever. This image I took in Goblin Valley, Utah, in the US. This place is definitely in the middle of nowhere and away from any kind of light pollution. Like I'll say about 100 kilometers in radius, there is no population, no light pollution, and no one as well. So yeah, you get scared over there sometimes in the night, but yeah, it's all fun if you go out in the night and take pictures. I'm pretty sure. Um, so in this image, what I'm showing is that we can, if we see some light pollution, we can still use it to our advantage. Like in this image, you can see the orange and yellow glow that comes from the horizon. That is light pollution. But you can also see the stars, so it's not that bad. And you can use this light pollution to enhance the colors of your image, to to bring a character to your image, basically. So in this case, you can see the orange and yellow glow, and I really like it near the horizon. It gives even in some of the foreground as well, that light pollution is spreading across. This is another example. This image I took in Crater Lake National Park in Oregon. You can see behind the mountain there is some light pollution coming in. It appears to me as if to the one who takes the picture or one who sees the picture that there is a sunrise happening or sunset just happened. But this is just the light pollution from the small town, or maybe a motel or hotel over there, which creates this yellow glow around the horizon, which makes definitely makes the image more colorful. So let's talk about how to shoot the Milky Way images. Uh, well, there are some camera gears that you can use, some camera equipment that you can use that I can suggest. Let's go through them. So the first and most important thing is that you have to use a steady tripod. Some brands like Manfrotto really write stuff in Git, so they have very good steady tripods. I've used all of them, and they're really good. Uh, it's very important to use a steady tripod because you're shooting for like 30 seconds for a minimum for Milky Way shots, and if you're doing star trails, even more than that. So it's very important. You can use wide angle fast lens like Nikon 14 to 24 mm. I use Rokinon lenses. I really like them, 14 mm, 24 mm f 1.4. For APS-C crop sensors, you can use Tokina 11 to 16. That's a good lens for astrophotography. You have to shoot with the camera with good low light performance. Canon 60, Sony A7R, these are some examples. Canon 5D Mark III, even some Nikon cameras as well. That really helps because the kind of photography, night photography, you definitely need such a camera. It's always advisable to use intervalometer or remote shutter. Intervalometer for the star trails and remote shutter for the Milky Way, because you don't want any kind of blurriness or image shake when you're trying to take the images with your hand, using the shutter with your hand. So remote shutter is a very good idea. There are other options that you can also use, like star tracking. It's a topic in itself. I sometimes use ioptron star stacker. What it does, as the Earth rotates, we can see the stars moving in the sky. So it moves based on the Earth's rotation. It moves as with the stars, and you don't see any kind of stars movement. So it tracks the stars movement and moves your camera based on that movement. And it allows you to take longer and longer exposures with less ISO, so very less noise and more details that you cannot take or get with a 30-second shot. The image on the right, this image I took with the Roki 924 mm f1.4 image lens. So about the camera settings, I always suggest people to shoot in RAW, because RAW has more details than JPEG. JPEG is like already processed image, but in RAW you can do a lot of processing. You can work with your um, white balance, other settings, and you get more to play around with in your image. So definitely shoot with RAW, store all the details in there, and then go with the post processing. Shoot in the manual mode. Don't shoot in auto mode. Your camera will get confused. Cameras are not made. Auto modes are not made for night sky. That's what I feel. So always shoot in manual mode. Turn off your autofocus. In night, it will not work unless and until there is a very bright light in the foreground that you want to do. Otherwise, it will not work for you in autofocus. Manually set your focus. Set it near close to infinity, just shy of infinity or infinity, based on the lens you're using. It's always a good idea to check it, take a test shot and see if the stars are blurry or they are sharp. And what I do, my own preference is I use the live view and look at the bright stars and then try to manually focus it in the live view. So that helps for me. You can also try that. About the aperture, set the aperture to the widest aperture, lower number your lens can provide, f2.8, f1.4. Even if you have f4, 3.5, don't worry, you can still take Milky Way pictures. So it's out there. You have to just go and explore. ISO settings, these days, most of the cameras they allow ISO up to 3200, 6400, and they provide good performance as well. So I prefer ISO in that range depending on the camera's performance, how it is. I definitely go and shoot up above 8000 as well sometimes. The image on the right is shot with ISO 8000, but you won't see much of the noise over there. So about the white balance, if you're shooting in RAW, you can use auto. If even if you don't want to use auto, tungsten is a good start. I feel that you get more and more details, good colors with tungsten. The most important part is the shutter speed when it comes to the Milky Way. What I feel is that Milky Way images should not have star trails, the trails, the stars trailing. The stars should be sharp and just the point of light. There are various rules that people apply: rule of 600, rule of 500, and rule of 400. So, what are these rules of 600, 500, and 400? These rules tell you that if you divide this number by the focal length, it gives you whatever number result you get. That is the exposure, that is the shutter speed that you can use without getting any trails in your Milky Way images. So I prefer rule of 400, and if I'm using a 14 Rokinon, I can 1400 divided by 14 is approximately 28 seconds if my math is not wrong. So I use about 25 seconds to be on the more safer side, so a couple of seconds less than rule of 400, and I get pretty sharp stars whenever I'm doing that. For 24 it's 400 by 24. It's 16 seconds. You can use that. For the crop sensor, it changes a little. Even if you're using a 10 for a crop sensor, you have to multiply the crop factor to your focal length to get the exact result. Like I use Canon 1.6 is the crop factor. If I multiply it by 10, I get 16 mm. And if I divide 400 by 16, it's approximately 25 seconds. So if I'm using a crop sensor, I'll make sure I'm not going about 25 seconds. And if I do, start seeing the trails in the stars. Not in the center, but by the corner for sure. So preferred settings for a Milky Way image, I'll say f2.8, 25 seconds, ISO 32 to 60, 400, the way your camera allows it for a wide angle lens. If you, as and when you change the lens, the setting changes, and I explain to you how you can calculate your own settings and try these kind of Milky Way shots. So I did talk about in earlier images about focus and how important it is to focus just to the right amount to the infinity and see if the stars are in focus. This is a perfect example. Whenever there is an object very close to you and you are trying to focus to that object, what happens is the stars are out of focus. So in this case, I was shooting very close to this tree, and whenever I'll focus for the tree, I'll focus for infinity. So whenever I'll focus for the tree, stars would be out of focus. In the second slide, you see I focused at infinity. The stars are very sharp, but the tree in front is out of focus. So these are a few things that for that, what you can do is you can take multiple images, like one for the object in front if you have any, and if you don't, then you can get away with just one image. I wanted to include this tree definitely for because for the composition purposes, and really love this composition over there in the night. So what I did is I took two images, I stacked them together, and this is the final image where you can see the tree is in focus, the stars are in focus, and I kind of love the eerie look of it, and that's the reason I converted it into black and white. That was my personal preference. So another important thing when it comes to Milky Way photography or night photography as such is light painting. Light painting is like a painting is like doing painting. As in more and more you do, you get the feel of it. You get to know more about it, how to do it, and all those things. So the basic idea is when you're using a torch for light painting, for example, don't keep it in one place. Keep moving your hands and keep spreading the light across in a uniform manner so that you don't see any hot spots over there, and you see the light pollution. Not the light pollution, but the light painting is done properly. Uh, in this example, in this image, I'll tell you the story behind it. I use two lights. One to just show that I'm light painting, that I'm actually not doing. The other one to actually light paint. The real light paint, the light that I used, I kept it near the ground, and I lighted this arch to the half. And the light that is in my hand, it's actually pointing towards the sky and not towards the arch. I didn't want to do any kind of hotspots over there in this image. That is why I kept it on the right. And I didn't want, as is this selfie image, I also didn't want to light paint while the image is going on because I would have definitely come as very blurry. And that's the main important thing. If you're taking selfies, you need to be sharp in that case. So be creative with your approach with your light painting. Think out of the box. What kind of lights I use? I use from from iPhone light to LED panels to light paint. Whatever is available to me at that time. I've light painted with the iPhone light as well. I've used LED panels. I've used torches, headphones. I've used different kind of lanterns to light paint based on the need that what I'm doing at that moment. This is another example of light painting wherein I use two lights. I use one controllable light wherein I can control the output of it on the left hand side where I was taking the image. I was in the center, but on the left hand side. And I use a lantern behind these wood structures so that they basically light the rocks behind the main rock and also on the edges of the main rock. So this kind of gives you a third dimension. It adds character, it adds contrast, and the way to light paint is that you need to make sure that you take some test shots so that you see if the light painting is not harsh, if you can change the intensity of the light. That is very important to have such lights where you can change the intensity if you're not light painting and keeping them constant, basically. There is another example. I kept the light on the right angle to the image. So you can see it created shadows and kind of adds to the structure and shows you the third dimension in this case. I used just one light. I could have used another light as well, but I really like this one light and this composition. So I just used one light. Tested a couple of times. It really worked out for me. So sometimes you can use natural light for light painting. In night, you don't have much of the light. If moon is way up in the sky, that's kind of very harsh light that affects your stars. But when the moon is setting, it due to Earth's atmosphere, it does have some orange glow on it. So that orange glow you can see that is coming on this rock. It's from the moon that was behind me, and I used this to light paint the foreground and use that light to give the orange glow in this image that's pretty natural, and it's not taken at sunset. The lights behind are from light pollution, and the light that is lighting up the arch is from the moon that was setting in the opposite direction.